Holy Moses, ladies and gentlemen, it's Scotch and a Beer time. This Scotch and a Beer is about why I have been doing Scotch and a Beer. And the last Scotch and a Beer I did, per the internet, was January 5th of 2021. So we had gone through the beginning stages of COVID, did a couple of drift weeks, and that leads us up to January of 2021. Hasn't quite been a year, but it's getting real close to being so. So, before I begin, it is the part that I do at the beginning of every video. So I'm going to start it up right now. We've got the S.A.A.B Brewing Company Social Hour. I think I've had this beer on Scotch and a Beer before, but it's the only thing I had in the refrigerator at this new shop, which is what I'll be getting into in just a few. But one of my favorite beers. Sweet, but delicious. It's a tropical fruit style wit beer. So that classic wheat. And for the Scotch, we are going to be going with the Kirkland Signature Speyside Single Malt Scotch Whiskey 20-year Sherry Cask Finish. So this is one that you can get at Costco, and it's definitely one of the cheapest 20 years that I've ever used. I got some Scotch rocks in here because this is kind of an oily one, so I'd like to cool it down. But let's see what she brings. Wow, the sherry is strong with this one. You can absolutely smell every single bit of that. Kind of a black licorice scent. I don't have any specific memories with this particular one. But it says a great sherried malt to share with friends. So hey, I'm sharing it with the people on the other side of this lens because I've been slacking like a madman. So anyway, cheers to not really a real Scotch and a Beer, but a Scotch and a Beer nonetheless. That's actually really good. Pretty powerful up front. Got the nice tingle on the tongue, but it's sweet as it goes back, and then the aftertaste is even sweeter, so that's where all that sherry's coming in. But I really do enjoy this for less than $100 for a 20-year-old Scotch. This is a big W in my book. Yeah, that's real good. And moving right along, you may notice that I'm sitting in a much different location than I ever have been in the past. This is currently where I do all of the GK Tech how-to voiceovers. This is kind of my studio. We got the sound editing stuff over there. It's a much better environment than just doing it from my house. And the reason why is because we've been warehousing GK Tech USA from my garage. Well, we started in a closet of a performance shop. We outgrew that rather quickly, moved it to my two-car garage at my original house that I had here. And we were there for about 3 years, a little over 3 years. And then we ran out of room again, and like it was just insane the amount of parts that we had in my little garage, and it was impossible to find stuff, and stuff kept getting lost. Anyway, fast forward to the very beginning of 2019, we moved into a house that had a 1,500 square foot warehouse attached to it. And that made our lives a million times easier until it didn't. We ran out of room again, and we had to get 3 40-foot sea containers out in the back of my yard, much to my neighbor's detriment. And again, finding stuff was a huge pain. The sea containers didn't have light, they didn't have air conditioning, they didn't have heating. Doing it during the winter months sucked, doing it during the summer months sucked. So there was very small windows when those were okay, but no lighting, so you couldn't see, so you'd always have to have a flashlight, and they were packed so full you had to like squeeze through all the aisles to get to stuff. It was just not conducive to doing business. And we had our first Black Friday out of that warehouse, like the Black Friday sales that we do. And let me tell you, it was absolutely insane. It was 3 days of basically shipping almost 1,500 orders, just me, my wife, and Dom. and it was brutal to say the least. So we got to talking with Greg over in Australia, and it was like, well, I think it's time to actually put on the big boy pants and do something about getting a warehouse. Now, Albuquerque isn't exactly known for much of anything. It's starting to become known for movies and TV and so on and so forth, but we don't have a lot of industry. We don't have a lot of manufacturing. We don't have a lot of industrial. It's just not that kind of a city. We're kind of stuck between a mountain, a Indian reservation, an Air Force base, and another small city. So we can only really grow in one direction, and it's all just houses. It's not industrial or anything like that. So, needless to say, the vacancy rate in Albuquerque is 1%. So when I went to go try to rent a building, every single place that I went to go rent was like $10,000 to $15,000 a month, and I'm just like, people are paying that in Albuquerque for like 5,000 square feet. It was nuts. And we decided that it would be a much better idea to buy a place. So Greg floated me some money to put a down payment down for this place, which had been on the market for like 2 years. It's 14,000 square feet. It has a detached 4,000 square foot garage out back that we use for overflow. And we have a separated area for GK Tech proper. And then we have room for like intake of all the parts for when we get our shipments. We had to get a bunch of renovations done because the place wasn't up to code. And this was, I would say we started the process, in 2021, like the beginning of 2021. So right after I made the last Scotch and a beer was when we kind of started to move forward with that. And that was a huge undertaking, getting the books in order, getting the taxes in order, getting my income in order, getting everything we needed to do to actually do this. And we ended up getting a 7A loan. So it's a government subsidized loan that has a low interest rate, and it's 25 years. And the payment, instead of paying somebody else $15,000 a month for a space this big, we are now paying much, 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 much less. Even though it sucked to come up with that money to pay Greg back, it's totally worth it in the end. Now I have a place to store my cars. We have plenty of room for GK Tech's back stock. We have plenty of room to keep plenty of parts on the shelf. It's made our shipping more efficient. It's made everybody's lives more efficient. And I have employees now, which is absolutely nuts. And that brings me to the next life thing that has happened. Also in the beginning half, right after we actually finished up the ordeal with this building, my wife hands me a little bag, and it has a pair of baby shoes in it and a pregnancy test. And I pulled out the baby shoe first, and I was like, what is this, a keychain?
Here, I got you something small.
I don't even know what that is.
There is something else.
No way.
I did 3 today, and I'm like, there's no fucking way.
That's amazing. And then I looked in the bag, and there was a pregnancy test in there, and it was pregnant. And so we are now getting into a building and having to worry about the logistics of moving all of GK Tech, and now I'm going to be having a kid on top of all of that. So that happened, and we were super pumped on that. Michaela and I have been married since 2015, so this was a welcome choice, and I'm not getting any younger. I ain't no spring chicken, so I think it was going to be kind of a now or never if I had a kid or not, and I'm really stoked that we did. He was actually born January 23rd of 2022. So 1, 2, 3. It's a cool birthday. His name's Eliaj, and he's a pretty rad little dude. So hopefully he'll be into cars. If he's into something else, that'd be great. Doesn't matter to me, but cheers to having some kids. I know there's a lot of dads out there, So we get all the paperwork finished. We go through 8 months of constructions because we're mid-COVID at this point. It's rough. The inspectors come like 3 or 4 times and they're like, no, this needs to be brought up to code and this needs to be brought up to code. It ended up costing like $50,000 to bring this building up to code because it hadn't been inspected since like 1988. Insulation, handicapped stuff, water fountains and handicap accessible water fountains, and a bathroom that had railings, and it was just thing after thing after thing after thing. We got the floors polished, and now basically it's also storage for my cars, my 90 ship boxes that I have collected over the years, and my little office for doing the how-tos and doing video editing and the logistics of GK Tech, and then we have the shipping area in the back. On top of that, we filmed the Hoopty World Championship for Motor Trend back in 2021, and that was a pretty fun project. It was stressful, but it was fun. We ended up taking second place, and the only reason I wanted to go was because there was a drifting section. I won that, so it's nice to actually get a W for once, considering I've gotten second place at like every goddamn event in my entire drift career leading up to Formula D, where I didn't even get to do anything. Anyway, I digress. We did Hoopty World Championship, so that was almost 3 weeks of filming out in Tucson. That was a big deal. Then we had to come back and physically move everything from GK Tech to here, get new racking built out, make sure everything was good, set up packing stations. Like, it was, I had no time to do anything even remotely close to editing videos or doing anything. I skipped drift weeks. I did drift week 4, which was really fun, but it was a lot of the same tracks that I've already driven, so that was kind of a bummer. The Lexus did good, except for the fact that it was on 6 bad pistons, but it made it all the way through. It still runs and drives to this day, and I just need to put new pistons in it, and just, again, have not had time to do that. And one of the other reasons why I haven't had time to do anything is because I was a judge for clutch kickers. So that was 6 rounds, I believe, and I missed the last one. So I didn't actually go to the last round of clutch kickers, but I did the first 5. It was insane. It was a huge time sink. It was drama. It was stress. It was fun, and I love the clutch kickers guys, and I love what clutch kickers is. But man, it was a stressful time, and I decided not to do it for 2022, unfortunately, due to the next thing that I'm going to be talking about. So fast forward to the end of 2021, I dropped trow and purchased a 1990 Nissan Skyline GTR, which has been a dream car of mine, in TH1 Blue. Been waiting for one of those to come up at auction, and found one from Top Rank, and I absolutely love it. I got a Pulsar GTIR shortly after that I accidentally won on auction, and just added those to the collection, and those became kind of my daily drivers. So absolutely been loving those things. What else? Stunts and movies has been picking up in Albuquerque. Netflix is expanding the studios, so there was a ton of that. It's like all these little things combined just made my 2021/2022 a absolute blur. And many of the reasons why I didn't go to travel drift events, I didn't make Scotch and beers, I didn't do a whole lot of goddamn anything other than hustle. But sometimes you got to do that, and that's what had happened. So January rolls around, we have the kid, and anybody that's had a kid completely understands that that takes over your life for the first, I don't know, it started getting a little bit easier around the 4 to 5 month mark. So you have 4 to 5 months of just oil changes in the form of diapers, like 12 times a day, blowouts, poop and pee, and all of that everywhere. And anybody that's a parent can definitely relate to that. And you kind of lose a sense of everything that you were doing. I still ran all the drift events in Albuquerque, but other than that, I didn't go out much. I stayed here, or I was doing how-to videos or whatever. There wasn't a whole lot of time for anything else other than that. Now, early 2022, because of the Hoopty World Championship, we got the opportunity to kind of pitch a show together with Bart from Motor Trend to the execs and bigwigs that would ultimately end up be calling Runs Good. And they greenlit it. We shot a pilot, which took like 4 days. We did a head gasket on a Z, brought it out to the racetrack, and thrashed around. It was fun. The pilot sucked. We were horrible on camera, and they picked it up. They greenlit the project based off of our crappy thing. So it had enough potential that they saw to become an actual Motor Trend show, which is really cool. We went through contract negotiations. We're getting paid crap, but it was a lot of fun working with Aaron, Shay, Eddie, and the rest of the team on making the episodes. We filmed 6 episodes of Runs Good that will be streaming on Motor Trend Plus, and they will be on cable TV sometime in October, which is really cool. I made some glasses for us for our last episode that we did and gave them out to the crew and everybody, just because I thought that was really cool to be able to do a show. We don't know if we're going to get a season 2, but so far it seems like the general consensus is people like the show, which is great because we thought people were going to hate it. It wasn't going to fit with Motor Trend's audience. Like, there was a lot of things that weren't easy for that show to even succeed just a little bit. So super stoked on that. We've released 3 episodes so far, and they come out every Tuesday, which is cool to kind of see that and to get the feedback and just do cool stuff with your friends. And that's kind of what the show is all about. It's basically taking people's project cars that have been sitting, been dormant, not finished, buying them, finishing them, and then going to do what that person originally wanted to do with that car. So our first episode was a Mustang. The guys wanted it to be kind of a street hitter / drag car, and we made it that. We went to the drag strip. It got shut down twice. It made like 700 horsepower in a junkyard motor with AutoZone bearing slap. And then we went and did some street hits because the drag strip wouldn't let us go down the drag strip. Anyway, that's a long story, and you'll have to watch the episode for that. Episode 2, we did a Mini Cooper that was supposed to go Spec B racing. We put the cage in it, we snuck a nitro system on it, and then proceeded to blow it up immediately on the racetrack, which was still really fun. Aaron and I got some Miatas rented for us, and so we all actually got to drive on that one. It was great. Episode 3, we did a Jeep Comanche that we turned into a rock crawler / off-roader / desert basher, which is a hard and tall order to accomplish. But we did all 3 of those things, jumped it, ran it up some banks, ran it off some embankments. It was, that one was my probably funnest to film because it had the best payoff. We actually got to do really cool stuff with that. Plus we drove it out and we drove it back, which is a huge win in my book. We thought we were just going to break it the first time we drove it off anything. So we've got 3 more episodes left this season. I'm really excited because those episodes should be pretty cool, especially the last one, which is going to be a Skyline. Couldn't be more pumped. The crew did amazing. It was a mind-blowing experience, super stressful, 15-hour nights every single night. We had 5-day shoots. It was something else, but happy to be involved. If we get a season 2, we get a season 2. If we don't, we don't. I'm proud of it, and that's really all that matters. But that took up 6 months. Basically, we were filming once a week every month for 6 months, and that was just like full on, plus a bunch of stuff in between, and we had to have reshoot dates because of COVID and other assorted issues like not getting parts in, which is a standard thing for the COVID times that we live in. Meanwhile, stunts is still picking up. We've kind of settled down into the building that we're in now. I have 4 employees, which is, again, mind-blowing. They're absolutely killing it, which has taken a huge load off my plate and has now allowed me to do this little video. On top of that, this year we decided it would be a good time to buy a house. So I ended up selling the old house that I was in that we got in 2005. I put a lot of money into it. We completely renovated it, and ended up selling it for way more than we paid for it, but I put so much money into it, I made a little bit, which was just enough money to pay Greg back and put a little bit of money down on a house that we're trying to buy now. I chose the absolute worst time in the entire world to buy a house. Interest rates were like 2%, and then when Dan goes to buy the house, interest rates are 6%. We got locked in at 4%, and that month the feds hiked the rate 2 times. And the company that was doing the loan was like, everything's good to go. You guys are going to close on the 1st. You got all your paperwork in line. And then the day before we were supposed to close, they were like, you don't make enough money. We're not doing the loan. And I was like, we said you were all good. Everything's fine. And then they were just like, nope, sorry, you suck. And so the day before closing, I had to be like, hey, the bank said no. So I had to find another one who is not optimal in any way, shape, or form. And we got locked in at like 5.7%, which really sucks. We'll refinance when everything kind of calms down or stuff crashes. But we got the house, so that was another big ordeal that we had to go through. And now we've just been in the process of changing it and renovating it and making it to our liking, since we hadn't been able to change it since 2019. It's cool though, because now the kid has his own nursery, and I have my space. I got my garage back, so I keep the Skyline there. Our daily driver wagon and all my computer room stuff got kicked out of the house for Eliage's nursery, and then all my computer stuff is now in the garage also. What else has happened? Again, didn't do any traveling events hardly, except for Drift Week during 2021. In 2022, I did Drift Week 4 and haven't gone anywhere else except for El Paso for a demo. We just went to Tucson and filmed a little video out there at just a local event, which was super fun to just kind of show up and just hang out with people. And we had a crazy storm out there, and we got to camp, and it was a really good time with the 10 Tenths boys, with Scotty and Shay and Dylan, and it was just it was a much needed escape, because I haven't gotten to do a whole lot of driving other than at Sandia, which I drive at all the time. So that is, in a nutshell, all of the reasons why I haven't been doing Scotch and a Beer, or really editing any other content besides Drift Week and GK Tech how-tos. It's been a crazy run, and even though that might seem like it's not a lot, it was a lot for me with everything else that I have going on. So it became a little bit difficult. It became too much, but we're powering through. Things are on the up and up. We're gearing up for the next Black Friday sale for GK Tech. I have No Coast Drift Party 12 coming up, which I have been going non-stop for the past month, printing hats and shirts. We're getting stickers made by 7 Graphics. Abo Moon is coming out to join us for the No Coast Drift Party 12. So if you were ever on the fence about coming, there's a lot of reasons that I'm not going to go into right now about why you should come to this one. I'm not saying, I'm just saying, if you have ever wanted to come to a No Coast Drift Party, come to this one. Please. I'm not going to go into it, but things have changed at the racetrack, and there may not be another one. I'll just put it that way. So we've got that coming up, Whiskey Garage. This is where and how I am able to keep these events going, is by selling t-shirts and gear and everything else. So please come out and buy a bunch of stuff, even if you don't care about the event. That's the only time I really sell stuff, because I don't keep an inventory on the website because I suck, because I have so much else going on. I just don't have time to do it. So I try to sell everything that I can during No Coast. So yeah, please and thank you for buying all the stuff that I'm bringing out. A lot of cool stuff this year. I'm excited for it. We're going to have a Velcro wall and an inflatable boxing gym. We're going to have bands on Friday night and Saturday night this year, because so many people come on Friday now. People are rolling in on like Tuesday, and I have to have them camp outside because the gates are closed. So it's nuts. I'm super excited to do this one. Super excited to have Abu Moon out and the Valino Tires guys. They've been title sponsoring the events all season, along with 10 Tenths. 10 Tenths has been instrumental in keeping me on the track the little amount that I've been able to do. They keep my car maintained, they keep it oil changed, they keep it nut and bolted, they do alignments. I cannot thank them enough for everything that they've done to get me the few laps in to keep my sanity going that I can. So big heartfelt thank you to Scotty, Shay, Dylan, and Wade from 10 Tenths. You guys are the absolute real MVPs. Those guys are out there working until the wee hours of the morning, the night before drift events, helping drift guys get ready and get their cars done and aligned and dyno tuned and everything else, almost every single event this season. So big shout out to those guys. Valino's been supplying me with tires to burn, and I've been going through them feverishly. I absolutely love the Grivas on Sandia. They're pretty comparable to the old Kendas, so that makes me happy. The more laps I can get out of a set of tires, the better. Oof. Anyway, I left off the last Scotch and a beer in Florida, and I need to pick that up, and hopefully I'll be doing that within the next coming weeks. I want to try to knock at least one of them out before No Coast, because after No Coast I am flying out to the Czech Republic to introduce Eliage to all of my wife's family, and we got to go to a bunch of different places, and he's going to be all James Bond with his dual citizenship and passports, and we got to get all that taken care of. So pretty super excited to just hang out there. I'm going to be gone out there for quite some time. Got a drift event planned with some Czech guys out there from Wild Performance, which is going to be pretty awesome. I'm excited for that. I'm either going to be in a Miata or a BMW. I don't know which one, but should be fun either way. Trying to think if there's anything else that I missed or glossed over. I'm sure there is, but that's the gist of it. The long, short, the skinny. Yeah. And this has been Officer Dan with a monologue of a Scotch and a beer. I'm probably going to only have to cut this like 2 or 3 times because it just rambled on for whatever amount of time. But yeah, cheers to 2022 and onwards to 2023 and beyond. Thank you guys for watching, and hopefully I'll be getting back to the actual FD part of Scotch and a Beer soon. Love you all. Officer Dan out.